Okay, how many of you have the song Dem Bones running through your head? Okay, you'll just wait until later in the service, and we will hear it as you are bringing forward the Post-it notes, the card, the piece of paper that is in your bulletin. You will be bringing that forward to drop your dream, one of your visions, into our dream catcher baskets, and then you will get a refreshing glass of water. That's just a preview of when you will actually get to hear Dem Bones later on in the service. So, for today and throughout the rest of June and July, we are looking at situations from Scripture, especially from the book of Mark, but sometimes, like today, from another place too. We're looking at times where the people were having a crisis or conflict. Things were not going well. And then people became aware of God's presence, and a change happened. Sort of like life many times. So what was happening in the Valley of Dry Bones? You just saw the valley here. Well, that vision happened about 600 years before the birth of Jesus. And at that time, there was already one group of people from Jerusalem that was sent into exile. That meant that the Babylonian army had come into Jerusalem and sent this group away as slaves. Well, a decade later, the army came back because the people of Israel were rebelling, and naturally so. And this time, the temples and everything of religious significance, all those symbols of faith, were wiped out. And the rest of the group was sent away into captivity as well. So part of what was happening was the people were in despair. Everything they knew about how to worship, how to see the temple, to go into the temple, the different symbols such as the worship center, the candles, all of those were gone. And they were in despair. And then comes a vision from Ezekiel, the God-appointed prophet, who was in captivity at this point. And this vision, well, it's what happened on a battlefield. A part of the destruction of the armies at that time was after people were killed, they were left right there. The last disgrace was to leave the bodies with no one paying any attention to the dead bodies. It was meant to be a final defeat. And so the vision that Ezekiel saw was one of new hope. Of new hope. This despair that was throughout all of Israel, well, it was coming back to life. Did you notice how the bones came back to life? First, the bones, they received some moisture so that they were no longer dry. Then the sinews. I was just talking to a fitness coach. The sinews are the strongest connector in our bodies. What a great place to start. The strength of the ligaments, the strength to get these bones connected once again. God started at a really strong place. But then just body's enough. That doesn't do it. It's the breath. That Spirit of God breathing life, true life, back into the bones so that there might be life and hope again. So the call to Israel, when you've lost your hope, when you've lost your faith, when you have lost your bearing as to who you are and where to go, that's where we have the image of new. The Spirit coming to bring new dreams. Also the biblical image to dream the dreams under trees which you will never see grow. You plant trees that you will never sit under for shade because you're planting them in one generation. 30 years later, there will be shade. So how does that translate into our lives? Oh, I had a great time talking to Chuck Taylor a couple weeks ago, and he was talking about a time that he went to a local Church of the Brethren, talking about vision and dreams, and talking to the group about where are your dreams? What dreams are you holding on to? And they've dried out in you, and they're laying all over the field. And he told me the story that I did not know. One of the people in that congregation spoke. It was a woman who spoke, and she said, this isn't my dream, but I'm the one who has been squelching it to make sure it doesn't happen. My husband really wants to have a restaurant. He wants to do catering. That has been his dream and vision. And I've been saying no. And she turned to Dana J. Gall and said, "Dear, it's time." Dana J. Deli came out of that time of redreaming, allowing a dream that had been lying dead to be birthed once again. God breathed life into what was dead. There's other dreams that seem to remain dried out. Some of them are personal dreams. Some are dreams for the congregation. Some are dreams for the community. With Holly here today, the dream of her mother of not having services for children with autism in the elementary school. It's like the dry bones have risen, and we're seeing it in our building. Well, there's many stories of dreams that have come back to rise again. I'm wanting us to turn to see a short video clip. The reason for this video is because I saw it and found it so powerful. A woman whose name is Lisa Nichols is one who, she lived in LA. She was born in Los Angeles, in the area where two rival gangs kept warring against each other. And so when she went to school, she didn't get anything higher than a C. Everyone kept telling her she couldn't do it. She couldn't speak. She couldn't do the work. It was pretty dry for her life. It all collapsed when she was 27. She had a child, and the father of her child was in prison. And she couldn't afford diapers for her child. Now, sometimes people stay in the valley of dry bones for an entire lifetime. Oh, but listen to Lisa. She not only talks about what was, but she also knows that when you are back breathing again and have that vision and have that hope, sometimes there's people who want to squelch your dreams. Let's listen and hear what she has to say about dreams.
It's a life of hustle and survival. I remember when my ninth grade teacher asked me, Lisa, what do you want to be when you grow up? And see, I have to fight the Harlem Crip 30s every day to get home from school, so I looked at her and said, alive. I took an English class. It's a life of hustle and survival. I remember when my ninth grade teacher asked me, Lisa, what do you want to be when you grow up? And see, I have to fight the Harlem Crip 30s every day to get home from school, so I looked at her and said, alive. I took an English class. I got a fail in English. And my English teacher said in front of the entire class, Lisa, you have to be the weakest writer I've ever met in my entire life. Don't worry, my story ends good. Don't feel sorry for me. I got 7 under my belt. And then the same year, my speech teacher said, after giving me a D-, I knew I had an A in speech. Like, come on. He obviously didn't agree with me. He gave me a D- and said, quote unquote, Miss Nichols, I recommend you never speak in public, that you get a desk job. So here's the beauty of that story. Other people's perception of you ain't none of your business. Everything you've ever been through, sat through, rose through, cried through, prayed through, everything is a setup for your next best season. And the way you forgive the perceivingly unforgivable, the way you love the perceivingly unlovable, the way you accept what seems to be unacceptable, the way you embrace after you've been betrayed, the way you do that is the way you will lead us. Your light belongs to everyone who'll be illuminated because you were bold enough and obedient enough to let your light shine. Yes, 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 yes. And every time you cross someone's path and they can't handle your light, you know those people that they try to give you reasons why you should tone it down a bit. That they would tell Cheryl not to sing so loud. Right. They would tell me to shut up in class. They tell you you're kind of strange. You know those people. Dream snatchers, vision busters. Don't be mad at them. They can only love you to the capacity in which they're able to love themselves. Don't be mad at them. Don't be mad at them. Pray for them. Love them. Because they're dealing with themselves like we're dealing with us. But I want you to remember that your 70 watts has to be turned up. Because you got way more to give us. It ain't over yet. Don't put a period where God put a comma. And when you turn it up to 159 watts, you know, you keep turning it up. You stop dimming your light. You say, today is the first day of the rest of my life. You turn it up. You're going to find people that can't handle your light. And before today, you might have dimmed your light. You might have shrunk a little bit. You might have tempered it down a little bit. But after today, I want you to see this. After today, turn the lights up. After today, you don't dare dim your light. As your light gets brighter, you're going to disrupt some people. And they're going to tell you your light's too bright, your light's too bright, your light's too bright, your light's too bright. Then you just look at them and say, well, I'm not dimming my light. I'm just going to hand you some shades.
what we lost there with not having the video was at the end she did put on these bright, big sunglasses, because part of what happens when we do have a vision, when a dream is going, well, not everyone reacts positively, and some people try to squelch dreams. Even the dreams for the Israelites or us. Now, the opposite of a field of dry bones is life so bright that you need shades, sunglass shades, because you are so clear and focused on where you are going to do God's work. That shift from dry to refreshed and moving is a powerful shift. But so often, we find, at least in some periods of our life, we say that we are dry and we need the nourishment to continue the journey. And so here is where I invite you to take your paper. After the litany, write on your paper a vision, a hope, something that is not happening in your life or in the congregation or the community. Going back to the way it used to be, that's not a vision. It's also not reality. So just going back to the way it used to be doesn't work. The dry bones, being nourished, being watered, means moving forward into a new future. And after you drop off your dream, you will have the chance to take a small glass of water. For when the water cups were filled, it was a clanging of ice, like dry bones. And now it's refreshing, cool drink. God's Spirit, able to do the seemingly impossible at all times of life, includes your life on that list. And then be prepared to shine. Amen.
Here is an invitation to the dry and thirsty, wherever they may be found.
Come, all you who are thirsty, and you who have no money, and you who have no hope.
Come to the water. Blessed is the one who can hear bones rattling, and see sinews, and feel the breath of the Holy One. Come to the water.
A woman came, a woman came to draw water in the heat of the day. Jesus asked her for a drink and then said the most astonishing thing. All who drink of the water I give, the living water, will never thirst again.
Come to the water. As the rain and snow come down from heaven and do not return to it without watering the earth and making it bud and flourish so that it yields seed for the sower and bread for the eater, so is my word that goes out from my mouth. It will not return to me empty.
It will not return empty.
Come to the water. All who are dry and thirsty, come to the water.
All who seek living water, come.
crack them, dry bones, easy go, crack them, dry bones, easy go, crack them, dry bones, now hear the word of the Lord. Easy go, connect them, dry bones, easy go, connect them, dry bones, easy go, connect them, dry bones, now hear the word of the Lord. When your toe bone connects to you, foot bone, your foot bone connects to you, heel bone, your heel bone connects to you, ankle bone, your ankle bone connects to you, leg bone, your leg bone connects to you, knee bone, your knee bone connects to you, thigh bone, your thigh bone connected to you, hip bone, your hip bone connected to you, back bone, your back bone connected to you, shoulder bone, your shoulder bone connected to you, neck bone, your neck bone connected to you, head bone, now hear the word of the Lord. Them bones gonna walk around, them bones gonna walk around, them bones gonna walk around, now hear the word of the Lord. Disconnect them bones, a dry bone to disconnect them bones, a dry bone to disconnect them bones, a dry bones, now hear the word of the Lord. When the head bone connects from you, a neck bone, your neck bone connects from you, a shoulder bone, your shoulder bone connects from you, a backbone, your backbone connects from you, hip bone, your hip bone connects from you, thigh bone, your thigh bone connects from you, knee bone, your knee bone connects from you, leg bone, your leg bone connects from you, ankle bone, your ankle bone connects from you, heel bone, your heel bone connects from you, foot bone, your foot bone connects from you, a toe bone, now hear the word of the Lord. Oh, well, them bones, them, a dry bones, them, a dry bones, them, a dry bones, now hear the word of the Lord. And them bones, a dry bones, them, a dry bones, them,